Hi guys. So a lot of y'all know I've recently switched from using Procreate for my digital art to using Clip Studio Paint. And a few of you have been asking me to kind of do a comparison of the two, so I'm going to try and do that pretty quickly. So first of all, off the bat, I think it's obvious that Procreate is a much simpler program than Clip Studio Paint, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Procreate is much easier, much quicker to learn, much more intuitive in my opinion, and also financially much cheaper. So it's much easier for especially a new artist to just pick up and learn digital art. And it really has enough tools and capability to make really great professional grade work on it. Versus Clip Studio is gonna gear a little more towards a Photoshop industry feel. It has a lot more options, way more complex, which can be overwhelming for some new artists, but a ton of tools that are amazing assets to use when you're working on larger pieces, professional grade pieces, or especially like if you're doing comics, things like that. And so, Clip Studio can do everything Procreate can do. Procreate cannot do everything Clip Studio can do. For example, with my comics, if I'm working on Procreate, I can make it look nice. I can make it look the same, but I will be drawing from several different programs for different tools that I use in my comics versus Clip Studio will do all of it for me. Clip Studio will have my 3D models. If I need a new brush or texture, Clip Studio has that in the asset store. Clip Studio will even do formatting for my comic and stuff for me within the app instead of having to save it and then crop it out with another program that does proper formatting for me, And so those are all really big advantages that help speed up my workflow in my artwork. Another thing is, and this is an optional thing, Clip Studio works really well with a keyboard shortcuts. Whereas Procreate, it's mostly manual shortcuts on the interface. And if you're someone like me who kind of comes from a Photoshop background, I enjoy the keyboard shortcuts. I can use Clip Studio fine without the shortcuts. I'm just a little bit faster when I have the Bluetooth keyboard connected. Clip Studio is also, capable to use on desktop and on the iPad. And you can connect your accounts, so you can transfer files, brushes, things like that in between your desktop and your iPad, which I think is great. Procreate is only on the iPad. Procreate is also much cheaper though. Procreate is only $10 one time. And Clip Studio, if you're doing a desktop for the Pro version, you're looking at $50. Plus, on the iPad, it's going to be a subscription model, which turns out to be $25 for the year if you're looking at the Pro version, which is what most people use. They have a more advanced version than that I personally got. The main advantage of that is some features that they have to help with comic formatting and things like that. So if you're not doing comics, I would just suggest get the Pro version. Another big advantage that Clip Studio has to Procreate, in my opinion, is file size and layer size. That was one of the most limiting things, I think, when I was doing work in Procreate, especially comics where I'm working with really large files, is the larger your file gets in Procreate, the less layers you can use, which, as you can imagine, gets really bothersome and annoying. And so I've been loving being back on Clip Studio Paint and not having to worry about, okay, hold on, let me squeeze this in here, let me combine these here. I can just separate everything out, organize everything how I want versus having to try and optimize for space. That's a big advantage there. And I would say another big thing is the programs themselves, when you're drawing on them, they might feel really different to you. I know some people who appreciate the tools and versatility of Clip Studio Paint, but prefer the drawing feel of Procreate. And I understand that because that's really, really important to me too. I have to enjoy the feeling of what I'm drawing on for it to be a good experience for me. Thankfully, I enjoy how both Clip Studio and Procreate feel on the iPad, but I know someone who, does some of their work in Clip Studio, but then does a majority of their painting and stuff in Procreate just because they enjoy the brushes, the textures, and the feel of that program better. It's totally personal preference. And again, like all the other tools and assets I've talked about, it all comes down to personal preference and what are your goals and what things are important to you in our program. Again, if you are not working with huge files, if you are not using a lot of different 3D models, different assets, things like that, Procreate will get you there. Like Procreate, you can do beautiful, really professional grade work. But if you're doing some more complex pieces, really large pieces, comics, things like that, Clip Studio may be a better fit for you, even if it is more of a financial investment or more of a learning curve. You know, Procreate is fabulous for new artists starting out. It's super easy to learn. And so yeah, it would take way too long to go over all the exact tool differences between both programs because there's so many things. But hopefully this kind of gives you a little bit of an overview of the main differences between both programs. And if you have any questions about specific things between both, let me know and I can do a video on that and answer those questions for you. Yeah, hope you have a good day. Bye.